From the University of South Florida, this is member-supported WUSF-TV, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Sarasota.
Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. This is our very first show on PBS, coming to you from the studios of KCET here in Los Angeles. Now, for those of you who've been with me before during my television career, I'm delighted to be coming back into your homes each night. And now I'm very proud to be part of the PBS family. I hope that we can bring you a show each night that enlightens, encourages, and empowers you, and a program I hope that lives up to the rich tradition of this remarkable network. Now, I couldn't think of anyone better to help me kick off our new show than my guest tonight. He's America's favorite father and an American treasure. Bill Cosby joins us. Plus, we'll have a very special musical guest a little later on in the program. I'm so glad you joined us. That's all coming up right now.
Tavis Smiley is made possible in part by Toyota, makers of the 2004 Toyota Camry.
Walmart is proud to bring you Tavis Smiley. We embrace diversity, value its ideals, and strive to uphold those ideals for our customers and our associates. Walmart is committed to its community partnerships and is an equal opportunity employer. The Annie E. Casey Foundation. Fannie Mae Foundation. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Father, philanthropist, comedian, raconteur, author, just a few words to describe my first guest. But friend and mentor is how I describe Dr. William H. Cosby, and I could not be happier to have him here on my very first show. His latest book is called I Am What I Ate and I'm Frightened. He joins us tonight from New York. Mr. C, Happy New Year. Great to see you.
Well, congratulations. First of all, to be very, very candid about this is a promotion for you. The other place, you know, didn't appreciate you, and I'm not going to embarrass you anymore. But this is absolutely wonderful because the credibility and the integrity that comes with PBS, I mean, that lays you right on top of everything. And I'm sure you remember McNeil, Lair Report, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just proud to be what I think is your first show, and I'm happy that you asked me.
Well, I'm delighted to have you on. I can't think of anyone else who I'd rather have on the show, but I have to ask you, more importantly, how's Mrs. C?
You know, you did okay up to this point. Now, I just want the people of PBS to know that right now he is wasting your time. You will leave my wife out of all conversation. I've been very nice to you up to this point, even though you called me a treasure,
national treasure.
Yeah, you know, that doesn't bode well with me. It sounds like something that you know, Robinson Crusoe and Friday came upon, and when they opened it up, it was stuff in it, but there was nobody to sell it to.
Well, you know what? I had the guys in the booth, and I'm sure they're putting it on the screen as I speak. I had the guys in the booth make a special chyron. I didn't know it was even called a chyron, the thing that runs under your face when you're talking there.
Yes.
I had them make a special chyron. I wish you could see it right now, but it says Bill Cosby, wife, husband of Camille. That's what the chyron says.
That I love it. I love that. As a matter of fact, our plane pulled into onto the tarmac, and a fellow came over to me and he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Mr. Cosby, you got me in trouble with my wife." And I said, "Okay, so what did I do?" He says, "Your wife's name is on the tail of the plane," and now she says, well, Bill Cosby's wife's name is on the tail of the plane. Why can't you put it? I said, well, hey, man, no, I didn't get you into trouble. You know, just tell your wife her name is not on it for whatever. Get away from me. You know, but she gave me this beautiful sweater. I thought it was a Christmas present. And I found out that this is to wear on Tavis Smiley's first PBS taping.
She's so nice to me. She's so nice to me.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Smiley. All right.
She bought you a new sweater to wear on my show.
No, you remind me of an old blues song. And the guy kept saying an old blues song, how come my dog don't bark when you come round?
Well, let me switch gears. I'm going to leave Miss Cosby out of this for the rest of the show, except for the chyron, of course, that says husband of Camille. I'll leave it.
That part that's wonderful.
Okay.
I am truly.
Well, let me switch gears then. I saw this poll the other day that I found absolutely fascinating. I don't know if you saw this. I know you read incessantly. But I don't know if you saw this Roper poll that came out the other day. 1/3 of Americans polled in a Roper poll for Inspired House magazine said that Cliff Huxtable's house on The Cosby Show best represented the house in which they would most like to live. Did you see that?
I heard about it.
Is that nice or what?
It is very nice, but I also think my examination of it was, yes, the design, the furniture, everything sort of homey, but I also think that the people in the show playing those characters made that house warm and wonderful. Lena Horne paid tribute to the kitchen. When Lena Horne did our show, she said to all of us, the only reason why I'm doing this show is because I wanted to see if this kitchen was for real, because this is the kitchen that I want in my house. But I think that in the 8 years we ran, all of the things we did with the family, the fun we had, it all sort of made that whole place just look warm and wonderful and loving and a wonderful field for parenting.
It wasn't just that the house was warm and fuzzy and wonderful. It was all those things, to be sure. But I'm also reminded that you had a little bit of a difficulty with that house, and I am still honored to know you because of the fight that you engaged in when some folk at that network wanted you to take a certain sign off of Theo's door. You remember this story?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was at the peak of the apartheid going down quickly, and Mandela being released from jail. And it was just a couple of people in network and some people in media as well who felt that the sign abolish apartheid, that the sign had no place on television. And for those people, all I did was look at them and say, if you take the sign down, there's no show. And I was, it was not even a second thought. It wasn't even a clenched fist or anything like that. It was just very, very simple. If they take the sign down, there's no show. And so they then went back and had a meeting, and they found out that apartheid was not as important as the number of dollars they were making off of us.
I can imagine. Let me ask you, because this raises a fascinating issue for me. How is it that you have become America's funny man, America's favorite father? Folk want to live in the house that you created. I mean, you are, as I said earlier, respectfully, an American treasure, and yet you have never wavered from those things that you believe in, even when those things were politically unpopular. How have you been able to do both of those things at the same time, remain beloved by Americans and yet stand up for the things politically that you believe in?
You know, there's a sort of a silly attitude about performing, and that is if you're performing and people like you, then you have to be doing something wrong. the critique by some people, Cosby's sense of humor, is that he doesn't offend anybody. Well, I don't know of many comedians who can maintain and offend and keep an audience, because laughter is truly a judgment call. And for somebody to laugh, they have to be at least halfway with you. My sense of humor and what I wanted to put out, starting with, I guess, from the day I started listening to the radio, and then developing this particular philosophy that racism is stupid. I think that racism is a mental illness. And I think in getting with people who feel the same way that you feel, I think that racism is a misunderstanding of discrimination. And it is the evilest part of the misunderstanding of discrimination. I like to bring the thoughts together. And it's very, very easy, because human beings require the same things, regardless. You can develop your own form of who you believe God is, what life is. There's this wonderful crooked sort of feeling that I have. You know, for instance, we're supposed to have tails, black people.
Oh, yeah.
The men, black men, have these tails. Well, this is an old saying, and it was believed by many European Americans, or the word went out that we had tails. And I remember clearly my father saying that was because they mistook that part of the anatomy. So anyway,
yeah.
It's a part of fear and jealousy. So when I nailed these things, and people began to see clearly that I didn't have to make up anything. All I had to do was talk about my life, that people began to identify.
Well,
and at age 66, Mr. Smiley, I now, and I say that because this is your first show.
Okay.
Mr. Smiley, at age 66, when I do material, whether in the audience there's kids and their parents, or just people 80-some years old, when I do my material, the thing that they laugh at when they laugh is the connection.
I can tell you what's making me laugh these days. I'm on my second read through this book, you'll be happy to know. I actually read this one. I got your instruction.
Yes, please.
Tavis, read the book.
Please.
So I read the book,
No, I said,
sir.
Mr. Smiley, please read the book.
That's not how it came to me, but I read the book anyway because it came from you.
Yes.
I love this book. I Am What I Ate, and I'm Frightened. I got to tell you, my favorite part of the book, though, is the back cover. I hope that doesn't offend you. That back cover is funny.
Because there's no tail.
Yeah.
There's no tail. And there's also no sign of an incision that was made or anything.
I love the stories in this book. It is a book that talks about your various addictions and life lessons. And I love the story of you taking Mrs. C. Oops, I promised I wouldn't talk about her anymore. But this is funny, though. This is funny. It's in the book. It's in the book. I love the story of you taking Mrs. C out to dinner. At least the plan was, the guise was to take her out to dinner, and you end up sneaking off for some chocolate chip cookies. What is that all about, Mr. Cosby?
It's actually the piece is about, the piece was about when you're married, the change that comes. Because my wife and I at that time, we were married maybe 31 years or something. And I wasn't supposed to have any chocolate chip cookies. So, or anything, because my cholesterol was way up there. And So now, being a wife, she just took charge, and anything that I'm touching or doing, well, what is that? What are you doing? You know, I'm under surveillance all the time. Huh? What do you know? It's like eating with your wife. Once they find out that your cholesterol is up, or that you get a little dizzy, or that there's some protein in your urine or something, you know, whatever it is, then they become, you know the Olympics and the Olympic boxing? Mm-hmm. Okay, in the Olympic boxing, when they, not as opposed to pro boxing, you know, in Olympic boxing, something will happen in the ribs. Stop! You know, in the middle of the fight, stop! You know, and so that's what it's like being married after, you know, 30, 25. Once they find out medically there's something you are eating or doing something, salt is, stop! You know, so you go to a restaurant and you start to order. I'll have it, stop! What? You can't have that. What do you mean I can't have that? So anyway, I saw the chocolate chip cookies in the bakery next door. Uh-huh. Now, I turn into a child. That's the only way I can describe myself, a child. I turn into a child, I see the cookies, and now I am planning against, you know, this surveillance. So I set my wife down, and I told her I was going to the bathroom, and I went into the bakery, and I got 2 cookies, 2 chocolate chip cookies. Now, when you're under surveillance, you can't enjoy anything because you know your wife's in. So I took both cookies, and I just jammed them in my mouth, and, you know, like a dog getting a piece of meat on the street or something, you know, and it was gone. No taste, nothing. But I had consumed it. So I came back and I sat down, and the conversation went on. Mrs. Cosby, where did you go? I said, you know, and then, see, there's a fencing, and I don't know if it's intelligence, but it's just beautiful in marriage. See, you don't have a wife. You miss these things. And that's why you can't have mine, because you have to pay the dues. See, you haven't paid any dues, so you cannot
I can't have yours.
You can't have my wife, because, okay. And my wife is not broken in.
Yeah.
Either, you see. But she would probably treat you a lot better because she doesn't have the energy anymore, you know. And I've slowed down, so it's more like, anyway, so she said, where'd you go? And we did a lot of fencing, which is in the book. And finally, this was the punchline that I love so much, because I was denying that I had eaten a chocolate chip cookie. And she said, let me smell your breath. And to me, that was the funniest thing, man. I'm a man in my 60s.
And she wants to smell your breath.
And my wife is treating me like this is first grade. Let me smell your breath. Have you been smoking? No, I haven't. Let me smell your breath. It's like I'm 14 years old, 13. And this is what happens with marriage. But my favorite chapter is the last one about my aunt. Mm-hmm. And this chapter, to me, is funny, and it gives the running wonderful detail of what happens to a person in the hospital. But it also gives this wonderful running detail of our behavior. And that's what this book is about. Mm-hmm. It's about our behavior. It's about the fact that we know we're not supposed to eat something. We know that we're overweight. And if a friend says something, the first thing we say is, I know. Well, anyway, I'm just happy to have the opportunity to put this out, to make people laugh, have young people buy the book for their parents. Sometimes it might help, but mostly they'll be laughing and laughing at themselves.
That's why I love the chapter before. I should probably try to describe the back of this book, since I referenced it a few minutes ago. It is a picture of one William H. Cosby with his socks and slippers on, with one of those hospital gowns on that where the back is out.
Yes.
And your behind is bare. It's actually a very funny picture. I love the chapter if I don't go to the doctor, I don't have it.
I don't have it. Now, see, that's our behavior.
Yep.
But so why didn't you go to the doctor? Well, because if I went, then I might have it. So if I don't go, I don't have it. I have lost so many friends as they get older because they didn't want to go. I mean, fellas with prostate cancer. There's a young man in Indianapolis, Indiana, wrote a book because he waited too long, and now he's going chemo. But he's written a book now, and
Charles Williams.
Yes.
Yes, the Reverend Charles Williams. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful book, man. And people should really buy it because you have to go. Now, I realize that for prostate cancer, and by the way, this is not just for African-American males, so
sure.
I don't want European Americans looking at the two of us saying, well, it's about them. No, it isn't, sir. The hospitals are loaded with European men who have had their operation
Absolutely.
or they're getting their chemotherapy. So the point is, if you go, you have no money to be operated on. That's why many lower economic people don't go, because they don't know where they're going to get money from. So why go, find out you have it, and that's what you now know, that you have it. So you just leave it alone. But I just feel that this book, Tavis, is just delicious. And you laugh. It's not a hard read. It's a very funny read. And as you read, you will also begin to remember yourself.
It is delicious, like everything else that you write, and for that matter, everything else you do. I am what I ate, and I am frightened, and other digressions from the doctor of comedy, Bill Cosby. He is the doctor of comedy. Mr. C, I love you. Thanks for coming on to do this.
Listen, Mr. Smiley,
yes,
thank
sir.
you, and I hope they don't, pay attention to ratings for at least the first 12 years.
From your mouth to God's ears. Mr. C, thank you. All the best to you. Have a great year. We'll be right back with a very special musical guest. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us tonight. You can catch me tomorrow, as always, on my radio show on NPR, National Public Radio. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow night on PBS as I go one-on-one with former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. As we say goodbye tonight, I'm thrilled to have a dear friend who brought his unique voice along with him to help us bring our first show to a close. He's had so many hits, and I have so little time, but he's here to sing a song I love called
Jacaranda Bougainvillea.
Yeah, that song. My dear friend Al Jarreau, take it away.
Wow. I'm sorry we have to cut this short because we're starting in the middle. Tribute to New South Africa, the New South Africa. There is a dream of the tree and of the flowers, that there'll be a season of peace at the borderline where we're redeemed, and history will crown us Jacaranda tree and a Bougainvillea vine. Hey, Mandela, would you say that it's all right? When the children play, they always sing. They say that we were like Cinderella. In your garden there's a shrine to the first and the last, who are all divine. Oh, one and all, the big and small, a common birth. Well, each and every child for all his worth. Take the one who's always last, make him first. Take these seeds, seed the earth. They gon' go to dance and sing again. No, 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 coming along to a long way we have come. We're coming along, along, along. You're making a home for everyone.
For more information on today's show, visit Tavis Smiley at pbs.org.
Tavis Smiley is made possible in part by Toyota, makers of the 2004 Toyota Camry.
Walmart is proud to bring you Tavis Smiley. We embrace diversity, value its ideals, and strive to uphold those ideals for our customers and our associates. Walmart is committed to its community partnerships and is an equal opportunity employer. The Annie E. Casey Foundation. Fannie Mae Foundation. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.